Picture this: a gleaming tech expo, futuristic music pumping through the speakers. And then she appears. A humanoid robot, covered in binary code, wearing futuristic LED goggles, moving with uncanny precision. The crowd gasps. Iran has done it. They've created advanced AI robots. The future is here. Except it wasn't. Because when someone looked a little closer, they noticed something. The robot had very human-looking hands. And was that breathing? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the most embarrassing tech scandals of 2023. This is the story of how Iran tried to flex on the world stage and ended up becoming an international meme. Trust me, bro, you won't believe how this unfolds. Before we dive into this wild story, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon. I promise you the stories on this channel are so bizarre, so unbelievable, that you'll want to catch every single upload. We're talking about the weirdest moments in tech, politics, and human stupidity. And hey, if you enjoy this video, drop a like and comment so I know you're part of the crew. All right, let's get into it. Let me set the scene for you. It's December 2023 in Tehran, Iran. The location? The Iran Tech Expo, one of the country's premier technology showcases. This isn't some rinky-dink science fair. This is where Iran displays its technological prowess to the world. The event is held at Tehran's International Permanent Fairground, a massive complex that hosts everything from industrial exhibitions to cultural festivals. The expo attracts thousands of visitors, investors, tech enthusiasts, government officials, and journalists from around the world. Now, Iran has been under significant economic sanctions for years. These sanctions, primarily imposed by the United States and European nations over concerns about Iran's nuclear program and regional activities, have severely limited the country's access to advanced technology and global markets. So events like this aren't just about showing off cool gadgets. They're about demonstrating national pride, technological independence, and proving to the world that Iran can innovate despite isolation. On December 5th, 2023, one of the expo's main attractions was unveiled. The organizers have been teasing something big on social media for weeks. Cryptic posts about the future of Iranian AI and revolutionary robotics had tech watchers curious. What could it be? And then there she was. A figure emerged on the expo floor that immediately drew crowds. She appeared to be a humanoid robot, feminine in form, dressed in a white bodysuit covered entirely in binary code. You know, those ones and zeros that computer nerds love. She wore a white headpiece that looked like a futuristic hood, and most strikingly, a pair of LED goggles that glowed with an ethereal blue light. The robot stood still at first, then began to move. She walked. She gestured. She turned her head to look at onlookers. The movements were smooth, almost too smooth, actually, but we'll get to that. Attendees were mesmerized. Phones came out immediately. Videos started getting recorded. Within hours, footage of this advanced AI robot was spreading across Iranian social media. Then it jumped to international platforms. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everyone was sharing clips of Iran's supposed technological breakthrough. The official narrative. The expo organizers and some government-affiliated media outlets ran with the story. The narrative they pushed was clear. Iran has developed sophisticated AI-powered humanoid robots, demonstrating that despite sanctions and international pressure, Iranian scientists and engineers are at the forefront of robotics and artificial intelligence. Some accounts claimed the robot could interact with guests, respond to questions, and perform complex movements. There were vague references to advanced neural networks and machine learning algorithms. The language was technical enough to sound impressive, but vague enough that nobody could really pin down specific capabilities. For a nation eager to showcase technological independence, this was a propaganda goldmine. State media picked up the story. Some outlets compared it to Boston Dynamics robots or the humanoid robots being developed in Japan and South Korea. Look, the subtext screamed, sanctions can't stop Iranian innovation. Initially, there was genuine international interest. Tech blogs started publishing articles. Some were skeptical, but curious. Others were cautiously impressed. After all, humanoid robotics is an incredibly complex field. Even well-funded companies in technologically advanced nations struggle with it. But here's the thing about the internet in 2023. Nothing stays secret for long. And people have gotten very, very good at spotting BS. The devil is in the details. It started with a few eagle-eyed observers on social media. As more videos of the robot circulated, people began to notice inconsistencies. First, there were the hands. Oh boy, the hands. In several close-up shots, you could clearly see very human-looking hands, complete with skin texture, natural finger positioning, and what appeared to be nail polish in some shots. Now, advanced robots do have sophisticated hands, but they typically have a distinctly mechanical appearance, with visible joints, synthetic materials, and a limited range of natural movement. Then there was the breathing. Multiple viewers pointed out that in some video footage, you could see the robot's torso rising and falling rhythmically. Robots don't breathe. They don't need to. That's kind of the whole point of being a robot. The movements were another giveaway. While initially impressive, upon closer inspection, they were too smooth, too natural, too human. Real humanoid robots, even advanced ones, tend to have slightly stilted movements. There's usually a tell, a momentary pause before direction changes, a slight mechanical precision to gestures, an uncanny valley quality to their motion. This robot moved like a dancer. Because, spoiler alert, that's exactly what it was. The internet detectives. Twitter became ground zero for the investigation. Tech enthusiasts, robotics engineers, and just regular people with good observational skills started dissecting every frame of footage. User at TechSkeptic 2023 posted a side-by-side comparison of the robot walking and a human dancer in costume, highlighting the identical gait patterns. At roboticsexpert_AI, claiming to be a robotics engineer from MIT, posted a detailed thread explaining why the movements were biomechanically human rather than mechanical. The hip rotation, the weight shift, the arm swing. These are all characteristic of human locomotion. AI robots, even advanced ones, don't move quite like this. They can't. The engineering isn't there yet. Another user enhanced some of the video footage and claimed to identify fabric texture and wrinkles in the costume that wouldn't exist on a rigid robotic exterior. The meme started almost immediately. Images of the robot with captions like, "When you lie on your resume, but still get the job," and "Iran's AI is so advanced it's literally human," flooded social media. The costume theory gained traction. By December 6th, just one day after the unveiling, the consensus was forming. This wasn't a robot at all. It was a person in a costume. But who was this person? And why would they do this? Investigative journalists and social media sleuths went to work. They analyzed every available video and photo from the expo. Some people claimed to have identified the performer as a local Iranian dancer or performance artist hired for the expo, though these claims varied and were difficult to verify definitively. What became clear was that this was likely a deliberate promotional stunt, either an artistic performance piece that got misrepresented as actual robotics, or a cynical attempt at technological theater designed to generate buzz and positive press coverage. The international embarrassment. As the truth spread, the story evolved from Iran's impressive robotics to Iran's embarrassing tech hoax. International media outlets pivoted hard. The BBC ran a story titled "Iran Tech Expo Robot Appears to be Human in Costume." The New York Times tech section published an analysis piece discussing the incident in the context of technological nationalism and propaganda. Tech blogs that had initially covered the story with interest now publish follow-ups with titles like "About that Iranian AI robot." Yeah, it was just a person. Late-night comedy shows in the West had a field day. Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, and other hosts dedicated segments to mocking the incident. The jokes wrote themselves. But it wasn't just Western media. Even in countries traditionally friendly to Iran, there was head-shaking and mockery. Arab-language social media, Russian tech forums, Chinese tech platforms, everyone was talking about it, and not in a good way. Professional roboticists were particularly vocal. This hit close to home for them because it undermined public understanding of what real robotics engineering involves. Dr. Ayanna Howard, Dean of Engineering at Ohio State University and a renowned robotics expert, tweeted, real robotics is hard. Really hard. When hoaxes like this spread, it diminishes the legitimate breakthroughs happening in the field and confuses the public about the state of the technology. Gil Pratt, CEO of the Toyota Research Institute and former program manager at DARPA Robotics Challenge, gave an interview where he noted, "Humanoid robotics is one of the most challenging areas of engineering. We're making progress, but we're not at the point where robots move indistinguishably from humans. When people see stunts like this, it creates unrealistic expectations." Members of the international robotics community worried that the incident would fuel skepticism about real advances in the field. How do we convince the public that actual breakthroughs are legitimate when stuff like this happens? Asked one robotics researcher from the University of Tokyo in an online forum. Here's where things get interesting. After the story exploded internationally, you'd expect some kind of official response from the expo organizers or the Iranian government, right? Initially, there was silence. Complete radio silence. The social media accounts that had originally promoted the robot didn't delete their posts, but they didn't respond to criticism either. Iranian state media outlets that had covered the story simply stopped talking about it, moving on to other news as if nothing had happened. Some independent Iranian journalists tried to investigate and report on the story, but they faced challenges. In Iran, criticizing government-affiliated events or making the country look bad internationally can be problematic for journalists. So coverage in Iranian domestic media was muted. A few days later, some reports suggested that Expo organizers claimed it was always meant to be an artistic representation of AI and robotics, not an actual robot. This explanation was vague and unconvincing, especially given the initial promotional materials that clearly presented it as genuine robotics technology. No official apology was issued. No clarification was provided. The strategy seemed to be ignore it and hope it goes away. Why did this happen? To understand why this incident occurred, we need to understand the broader context of Iran's relationship with technology and international perception. The sanctions factor. Iran has been under various forms of economic sanctions for decades, but they intensified significantly after the U.S. withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, JCPOA, in 2018 under the Trump administration. These sanctions have targeted everything from oil exports to banking to technology imports. The impact on Iran's tech sector has been substantial. Iranian companies and research institutions struggle to access cutting-edge components, software, and collaboration opportunities. They can't easily buy the latest chips, specialized sensors, or advanced manufacturing equipment that modern robotics requires. National pride and soft power. For the Iranian government, international perception matters. They want to be seen as a sophisticated, technologically capable nation, not as an isolated, backwards country. Events like tech expos are opportunities to project strength and capability. The propaganda machine. Like many nations with authoritarian tendencies, Iran has a sophisticated propaganda apparatus. Sometimes, the desire to project a positive image overrides concerns about accuracy or the risk of embarrassment. Organizational dysfunction. It's possible that different groups within the Expo organization had different understandings of what was being presented. Maybe the performance artists thought they were doing an artistic interpretation, while the promoters genuinely believed, or chose to believe, it was more than that. Desperation for good news. Iran in 2023 was dealing with significant domestic unrest, economic challenges, and international isolation. There was pressure to demonstrate national achievements. Sometimes that pressure leads to creative interpretation of reality. The human cost. While the internet largely treated this as a joke, there were real people involved who faced real consequences. The performers, the person or people who wore the costumes, found themselves at the center of an international scandal. In Iranian society, being associated with something that embarrassed the nation could have social and professional consequences. There were reports, unverified, of performers being harassed online or facing professional blowback. The expo organizers likely faced internal criticism. While there was no public accountability, you can bet there were some very uncomfortable meetings happening behind closed doors. For Iranian tech entrepreneurs, and legitimate researchers working on actual innovations, the incident was particularly frustrating. They're already fighting an uphill battle for international recognition and funding. Having their country associated with such an obvious hoax made their work harder. "I'm an Iranian engineer working on actual machine learning projects," wrote one person in an online forum. "When I tell international colleagues where I'm from, I now have to deal with jokes about robot costumes. It's humiliating." Iran's robot costume incident wasn't the first technology hoax, and it won't be the last. Let's look at some similar incidents. Theranos, USA, 2003 to 2018. Elizabeth Holmes claimed her company had developed revolutionary blood testing technology that could perform hundreds of tests with just a finger prick. The technology didn't work as claimed, but it wasn't revealed until investigative journalism exposed the fraud years later. Theranos raised hundreds of millions of dollars and achieved a $9 billion valuation before the truth came out. The Turk, Austria, 1770. This historical example shows that technology hoaxes have a long history. The Turk was presented as a chess-playing automaton that could beat human opponents. It toured Europe for decades, amazing audiences. The secret? There was a human chess master hidden inside the machine. Facebook's news feed algorithm. Ongoing. While not exactly a hoax, Facebook has repeatedly misrepresented the capabilities and nature of its algorithmic systems, leading to public confusion about how automated versus human-guided their content decisions are. Boston Dynamics fake. Videos. Interestingly, Boston Dynamics has faced the opposite problem. Their real robots are so advanced that people often accuse them of being fake or CGI. The company has had to repeatedly prove that their videos show actual robots, not special effects. The Iran incident falls on the more obvious end of the hoax spectrum. It was quickly exposed because the deception was so crude. More sophisticated tech deceptions can persist for years. Let's talk about where humanoid robotics actually stands in 2023 to 2024, so you can understand just how far Iran's robot was from reality. Boston Dynamics Atlas. This is probably the most advanced humanoid robot in the world. Atlas can do backflips, parkour, and complex object manipulation. But even Atlas doesn't move exactly like a human. Its movements, while impressive, have a distinctive mechanical quality. And Atlas is the product of decades of research and hundreds of millions of dollars in funding from DARPA and SoftBank. Tesla's Optimus. Elon Musk's Tesla unveiled their humanoid robot prototype in 2022. At first, it was literally a person in a costume, which Musk was upfront about. Later prototypes showed actual robots, but with limited capabilities, walking slowly, picking up simple objects, performing basic tasks. Even with Tesla's resources, they're years away from human-like movement. Honda's Asimo. Honda spent decades developing Asimo, which could walk, run, and climb stairs. But Honda discontinued the project in 2018 because the technology wasn't commercially viable. The movements always looked robotic. Hanson Robotics. Sophia. Sophia is famous for her human-like face and expressions, but her mobility is limited. She's primarily designed for social interaction through facial expressions and speech, not full-body movement. The point is, even the world's most advanced robotics companies, with enormous budgets and cutting-edge facilities, haven't created robots that move indistinguishably from humans. The engineering challenges are immense. Why humanoid robotics is so hard? Let me break down why making a human-like robot is one of the hardest engineering challenges we face. Balance and locomotion. Humans have an incredibly sophisticated balance system involving the inner ear, proprioception, and constant micro-adjustments. We don't think about it, but we're performing complex physics calculations every time we walk. Replicating that in a machine is extraordinarily difficult. Power and weight. Robots need power sources, usually batteries, which are heavy. They need motors and actuators, which are also heavy. All this weight makes movement harder and requires more power, creating a vicious cycle. Humans run on about 100 watts of power for basic activity, absurdly efficient compared to robots. Degrees of freedom. The human body has hundreds of degrees of freedom, individual joints and movement points. Each one needs sensors, actuators, and control systems in a robot. The complexity multiplies rapidly. Material science. Human tissue is flexible, resilient, and self-healing. Engineering materials that can match those properties while also providing the rigidity needed for structure is an unsolved challenge. Control systems coordinating all these systems in real time requires massive computational power and sophisticated algorithms. We're getting better with AI and machine learning, but we're not there yet. Cost. Advanced humanoid robots cost millions of dollars to develop and produce. Commercial viability is still a distant dream. Why do people fall for technology hoaxes? And why do organizations perpetrate them? There's some fascinating psychology here. The hype cycle. We live in an age where technology news is dominated by hype. Every breakthrough is revolutionary. Every startup is disruptive. Every new gadget will change everything. This creates an environment where exaggerated claims seem normal. Confirmation bias. People who want to believe in rapid technological progress, or who want to believe a particular country is advancing, are more likely to accept claims without skepticism. Similarly, people who are pessimistic about a country or technology might be too quick to dismiss real advances. Technical illiteracy. Most people don't understand the details of how technology works. A person in a costume with LED lights looks futuristic and tech-y, so it must be advanced technology, right? The gap between public understanding and technical reality creates opportunities for deception. National pride. When it's our country making the claim, we want to believe it. Iranian citizens who felt proud of the robot were experiencing normal patriotic feelings. The disappointment when it was revealed as fake was real and legitimate. The spectacle. We're drawn to spectacle and novelty. A humanoid robot is inherently more interesting than, say, an incremental improvement in industrial automation, which is where most real robotics progress is happening. So spectacular claims get attention, even if they're less substantial. Iran's legitimate tech sector. Here's the thing that makes the robot costume incident particularly unfortunate. Iran actually has a legitimate technology sector with real achievements. Software development. Iran has a strong software development community. Iranian developers have created successful apps and platforms, and Iranian programmers work for major international tech companies when sanctions allow. Mathematics and theoretical computer science. Iran has a strong tradition in mathematics. Iranian researchers have made contributions to cryptography, algorithm design, and theoretical computer science. Medical technology. Iranian researchers have made advances in medical imaging, prosthetics, and pharmaceutical development. Aerospace. Despite sanctions, Iran has developed domestic satellite launch capabilities and operates its own space program. Renewable energy. Iran has been investing in solar and wind energy technology, with some homegrown innovations in desert climate adaptation. The problem is that these real achievements are often overlooked or underreported internationally because of geopolitical tensions and language barriers. So when Iran wants to make a splash at a tech expo, there's pressure to create something visually spectacular rather than showcasing the real, but less photogenic, work being done. An Iranian tech entrepreneur told a journalist, "We have people doing real AI research, real engineering. But a person in a robot costume gets more attention than a legitimate breakthrough in algorithm optimization. It's backwards, but it's the reality of modern media." What we can learn. The Iran robot costume incident, while amusing, offers some valuable lessons. 1. Skepticism is healthy in an age of rapid technological change. Maintaining healthy skepticism is important. When you see an extraordinary claim, ask questions. Look for details. Seek expert opinions. This doesn't mean being cynically dismissive of all progress. It means being thoughtfully critical. 2. Spectacle isn't substance. The most impressive-looking technology isn't always the most important. Real innovation often happens in laboratories and factories, not on expo floors. The incremental improvements in industrial robotics happening in Germany, Japan, and Korea aren't as photogenic as a humanoid robot, but they're transforming manufacturing. 3. Propaganda backfires. The Iranian government, or Expo organizers, likely thought this would be a propaganda win. Instead, it became an international embarrassment. Trying to fake success is riskier than admitting you're still working on achieving it. 4. Context matters. Iran's technology challenges are real and largely the result of external sanctions, not lack of human talent. The impulse to exaggerate achievements comes from a place of wanting to overcome real obstacles. That doesn't excuse deception, but it helps explain it. 5. The internet catches everything. In 2023 to 2024, there are millions of people online with expertise in every field, armed with video enhancement tools and a nose for BS. If you're going to try to deceive people, you better be very, very good at it. A person in a costume with LED goggles isn't going to cut it. 6. Real innovation takes time. There's no shortcut to genuine technological progress. It requires sustained investment, education, infrastructure, and often international collaboration. Countries that try to fake it instead of building it are shooting themselves in the foot. The media's handling of this story also deserves examination. Initially, some outlets reported the robot uncritically, eager for an interesting story. Only after social media exposed the hoax did they backtrack. This pattern is common in technology journalism. Companies and organizations make grand claims. Journalists report them because they're interesting, and only later does scrutiny reveal exaggerations or falsehoods. By then, the initial false impression has spread. Some journalists defended their initial coverage. We reported what was presented at the expo. Once questions arose, we investigated and updated our reporting. Fair enough, but it raises questions about the responsibility to verify before publication, especially for extraordinary claims. Others argued that the speed of modern news cycles makes thorough fact-checking difficult. If you don't report something immediately, your competitors will, and you'll lose clicks and views. The incident highlights ongoing challenges in technology journalism, balancing speed with accuracy, generating engaging content while maintaining skepticism, and navigating the hype cycles that dominate tech news. The robot costume incident is also a window into global technology competition and how it shapes behavior. We're living in an era where technological capability is increasingly seen as a measure of national power and prestige. Countries want to be seen as leaders in AI, robotics, quantum computing, biotechnology, and other cutting-edge fields. This competition has positive aspects. It drives investment in research and education, but it also creates perverse incentives. If appearing to be advanced is almost as valuable as actually being advanced, at least in the short term, then the temptation to exaggerate or deceive grows. We see this in various forms. China's social credit system, often portrayed in Western media as a dystopian AI-powered surveillance state. The reality is more complex and less centralized than often reported. But the mystique serves both Chinese state interests, projecting technological power, and Western media interests, generating clicks with dystopian stories. U.S. military AI, the U.S. Department of Defense, often hypes its AI capabilities as a deterrent, leading to uncertainty about what's real and what's exaggerated for strategic purposes. Silicon Valley vaporware. U.S. tech companies regularly announce products and capabilities that don't exist yet, hoping to attract investment and customers based on future promises. The difference is sophistication. Silicon Valley companies might release slick CGI videos of products that don't work yet, but they're upfront in the fine print that it's aspirational. Iran's approach was less sophisticated and more easily exposed. Despite this setback for Iran's reputation, the field of humanoid robotics continues advancing. Where is it headed? Manufacturing and logistics. The most likely near-term applications are in factories and warehouses, where humanoid robots could perform tasks in environments designed for humans without requiring entire facilities to be redesigned. Healthcare robots that can assist with patient care, especially for elderly or disabled individuals, are in development. The challenge is making them safe and acceptable to patients. Service industry. Some envision humanoid robots in retail, hospitality, and customer service. Japan is particularly interested in this due to demographic challenges. Hazardous environments, robots that can operate in dangerous conditions, disaster zones, radioactive areas, space, without risking human lives are a major research focus. Domestic assistance, the dream of home robots that can clean, cook, and provide companionship remains largely unrealized, but continues to drive research and investment. Experts disagree on timelines. Optimists like Elon Musk suggest useful humanoid robots within 5 to 10 years. Skeptics think we're 20 to 30 years away from robots that can match human versatility. The truth is probably somewhere in between and varies by application. What's certain is that real progress is being made, even if it's slower and less spectacular than science fiction or expo organizers would have us believe. Iran's path forward. For Iran's technology sector, the robot costume incident is hopefully a learning experience. The country has genuine talent and potential. Iranian engineers and scientists, when given access to resources and international collaboration, have shown they can compete at high levels. The Iranian diaspora has produced notable technologists, entrepreneurs, and researchers working around the world. What Iran needs is realistic expectations. Stop trying to compete with countries that have 10x the research budgets and decades of accumulated infrastructure. Focus on areas where genuine progress is possible. Transparency. Build trust by being honest about both achievements and limitations. The global tech community respects honest struggle more than fake success. International collaboration. Sanctions make this difficult, but to the extent possible, engaging with the global research community accelerates progress. Investment in fundamentals. Education, infrastructure, and sustained research funding beat flashy demonstrations every time. Some Iranian tech voices have called for exactly this kind of refocusing. An article in an Iranian tech publication, translated, argued, "We should stop trying to impress the world with spectacles and start building genuine capabilities. The respect we want must be earned through real work, not theatrical performances." The bottom line. So what's the final verdict on Iran's robot costume scandal? It was embarrassing, yes. It was misguided, absolutely. It damaged Iran's technological credibility, no doubt. But it was also very human. The desire to be respected, to be seen as capable, to overcome real obstacles and limitations. These are universal human impulses. The execution was flawed, the deception was obvious, but the motivation is something we can all understand. Iran isn't the first country to engage in technological theater, and it won't be the last. The difference is that in the age of social media and smartphone cameras, deceptions are exposed faster than ever. The incident became a meme, a punchline, an easy target for mockery. And sure, it deserves some mockery. It was objectively ridiculous. But it's also worth understanding the context and recognizing that legitimate Iranian researchers and entrepreneurs are the real victims here. The broader lesson extends beyond Iran. We live in an age where appearance and reality are increasingly blurred, where technology claims must be met with both open-mindedness and skepticism, and where the pursuit of prestige can override common sense. Real technological progress is happening around the world, including in unexpected places. But it's messy, slow, incremental, and usually not very photogenic. A person in a robot costume might generate more immediate buzz than a genuine breakthrough in machine learning algorithms, but only one of those things actually moves humanity forward. And that's the wild story of how Iran tried to show off advanced AI robots and ended up showing the world a person in a costume. Trust me, fam, you can't make this stuff up. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of tech's most embarrassing moments, here's what I need from you. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. We're covering the strangest, most unbelievable stories in tech, politics, and human nature. Drop a like if you learned something new today. Comment below and tell me, what's the most obvious fake technology you've ever seen? Have you ever been fooled by something that seemed too good to be true? And if you really want to support the channel, share this video with someone who needs a good laugh or loves technology stories. Word of mouth is how we grow this community. Check out the description box for links to all my sources, articles about the incident, and videos of real humanoid robots, so you can see what legitimate robotics actually looks like. Thanks for watching, and remember, always question what you see, stay curious, and when someone makes an extraordinary claim, trust me fam, you should probably look a little closer. I'll see you in the next one.